the Monday or Tuesday at the beginning of the week, there was a Metallica cassette sitting up there on the shelf where all the instruments go. And every day I'd go in there and get my drink. It was still sitting there. I kept looking at it, still sitting there. It never moved. Friday rolled around. I'm like, nobody cares about that tape. I'm taking that home.
There you go.
And that started it all. I mean, honestly, I went home, I listened to that, and I'm like, you know, I've been messing around with a drum set my whole life. I've watched my daddy play drums. You can do that on a drum set? I'm like, that's what I want to do. What album was it? It was And Justice for All.
Oh, yeah.
1988. And that started it all.
Something in the water taught me how to crawl. Something in the water taught me how to fall. Something in my
Hey. Welcome to another episode of Something in the Water podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sean Clark, and your other host is
Uncle Dave Griffin. Caution Light Media. Justin Mercer behind the
brought to you by Caution Light Media
controls over there.
And our guest today is Mr. Jason Lee from Waycross, Georgia.
Howdy do.
We're glad to have you, buddy.
I'm good to be here.
Yeah. Jason is a drummer
Yeah.
as far as the music goes.
I'm not a real musician, but I hang out with a lot of them.
Well, we said you was a drummer.
That's right, exactly.
I think we covered that point already.
No, we've been in bands together, and you've been in a lot of bands around here.
Yeah, well,
I think I've been in all of them one time.
Yeah, you've been in every one of them around.
I'm sure I'm going to learn some history here today.
I might learn a little bit myself.
Concerning your past, as far as whose bands you were in and out of. The only one that the three of us are related to is the Newfanglers project, where you played on one of the tracks, the Sean song, which was titled "Blood in the Pines."
Yep.
Yeah.
The title of the album.
Graham Griffin wrote the words, and Paul wrote most of the riff stuff.
Oh, really? I thought that was your song. That's right. Yeah.
I think I wrote the music to the change, the bridge.
The
part.
bridge, which
That was a lot of fun. Looking back on that, I don't know if you remember, we went in and did the original, what made the album. It was supposed to just be a preliminary kind of thing, and we were going to come back and really do it. That's what ended up.
That was the cut. Sometimes
I love it though.
First is the
you
best.
didn't like it?
Oh yeah, I do. I could have done it better, but can't you always look back?
You can always do it better.
Yeah. But I'm glad I was a small part of it. Really am.
Oh man,
because that's a killer project.
Well, there was a lot of parts played by people on that project.
Yeah.
Just one performance.
One off, yeah.
And that was when that song came up, the style of song that it was, put your mic down to you a little bit right under your mouth there. There you go. And when that song became available, when we saw where it was headed, in a kind of a heavy direction.
We knew.
Call the sloppy rock and roll drummer.
No.
We got to get Jason on this one.
You also played on I know you know this, but I'm just telling everybody else.
Did I? No.
Yeah, you played on the very first recording of the song "Something in the Water."
Yeah.
That was on my solo album, Strange Bird.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I think I did maybe Axle Grease and Gasoline. I think that was the first recording of that too. Maybe you might have had another one before that. I don't know.
Did I put it on? I don't
know if that cut ever made an album or anything, but
I can't remember. I don't think it was on that album, but we might have recorded it. I might be misremembering too, though. It's out of print. I haven't heard it in a while.
I used the original. It's still my favorite. Maybe I'm biased because I'm on it.
It is,
but
good.
The original Something in the Water.
Yeah.
I used that on some of my YouTube stuff.
Cool.
I don't know. I dig that.
And your YouTube channel is
Trembling Earth Outdoors.
Trembling Earth Outdoors.
Trembling Earth.
Tell us something about that.
Well,
Roll this over.
it's off to a little slow start. I say a slow start. I kind of kicked it on the back burner a little while because my career, comes first. My job kind of got scolded a little bit. Shouldn't have been spending so much time doing that.
In the limelight.
Which, in all reality, I wasn't spending any more time, hunting and fishing, whatever, with the stuff I'm recording than I ever have been. It's just now there was a camera there.
You were just documenting, and they were like, "Wait a minute."
And I've always kind of wanted to do that because I'm a big fan of the outdoors on TV.
So it's an outdoor channel.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like hunting and fishing.
Right now, there's not, like I say, there's really not much there. I've got a lot of content, some already ready to go, some not ready to go. I just hadn't put it out yet. Like I say, when I got scolded, I kind of put the brakes on, which is good because there's no hunting going on during the summer, so it's not like I could have just kept rolling out stuff anyway. But
You got a setup, kind of like
I wish.
similar to.
I've got a computer desk and a computer.
Well,
But
sometimes
yeah.
you don't need all of that stuff, But
And actually, the first video I did, I came over here and got him to edit it for me and put it together.
yeah.
And I thought to myself, I think I can do that. Yeah. There's a reason he does what he does. I can tell you that. What took him probably an hour takes me a week. But, and it's still not as good. But I enjoy it. That kind of came in and took the place of music for me. I mean, because with my job, I can't commit to a band anymore. Can't commit to gigs.
How long has it been since you were in a band?
That's been quite a while since I was actually a member of a band. I've done one-off gigs here or there and studio stuff. Since I was in a band, we're probably looking at 6 years.
Was it Dixie Wreck or was it?
And that was a fun thing. That was to get the itch out. No traveling band.
Yeah, I played with you guys.
Played with you in a lot of bands.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear about them. Let's hear the history that goes back to.
Well, the first history I know of Sean, if we want to go way back,
Yeah.
You were in a band called Black.
Black. Yeah. There's some stories about that one. That was Rick Bennett and Kenny O'Bara. I actually had Robert Parrott and David Wilson. I don't know. People probably don't know those names. I don't think they really carried on much in music after that, but Rick and Kenny obviously did. They carried on in the Waycross music tradition, but that was all heavy metal stuff.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think you were playing with, what was that, Twist of Fate?
Was it Twist of Fate then?
I think so.
Yeah, probably. That was the very first band I was in.
And I think we did a few high school parties together.
Yeah.
And that was who all was that? It was Gus. What was Gus? Gus wasn't in Twist
Gus wasn't
Fate,
in there. He was hanging out. He was like trying to find a way in there, and that's when we formed Slush Puppy. But it was Daniel Moore singing, and Jamie Stewart on bass, and
Scott Paul.
Scott Paul for like a week. He wasn't in Twist of Fate. He was in Slush Puppy.
Oh, really?
For like a week. And it was I'm trying to think if it was
Joey?
It was Joey Walltower on the drums.
Yeah. And then who came after that? Courtney? Or
Brett Garrett.
Brett was the one actually playing with Rick and Kenny when I came along.
Really? Wow.
And I didn't know how to play anything. I knew how to play a drum set, but songs or anything, you know what they liked about me?
What?
Was that I got into it. I headbanged and that's all I knew how to do.
Dude, you were like, I remember the first time I met you, it must have been at Robert Parrott's house, and y'all were set up under the garage. And
That's when it all started.
We come over there to listen to y'all jam or whatever, and you wouldn't come out the house.
Yeah.
But we were all real young. Like you were like such a small little kid, You're like, they were like picking
Trying to
you
dragging
up,
you out the door.
you out, and you're like holding on to the door.
Not doing
like,
it.
I'm not playing in front of people.
I think I had practiced with the band like 2-3 times at that. Never even played any music with the band. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I just faked it.
Did you guys?
I think I still fake it. That's how I made my whole music career.
Yeah, we all faking it.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of fun doing it, but
I still know the same 3 chords I always knew.
But yeah, those were some fun days. I think the first we ever played together was before Jack Cadillac, wasn't it? What did we do before that?
Was it something with Rick?
Well, we did a jam.
We did jam, and was that you?
I remember some jam sessions in Savannah that lasted all night long, but that's another story.
That's another story. That's when I learned how to play funk that night, I think. It was something besides just downstroke. I was like, chick. Oh, okay. We used to jam in a storage unit. Mm-hmm. Was that, didn't you go over there? Mm-hmm. Kenny and you and Rick? And
that was our practice place. That was the most economical.
Yeah, I would go over there and jam sometimes with y'all or something.
$50 a month.
Hot as hell.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember one time we were practicing there. We had this gigantic, back then everything mattered other than the music. We had a stage and a drum riser, and we had this gigantic banner behind us that said black. And somebody called the law on us. And obviously the city policeman that came, he was black. And the first thing he had to point out was,
did it?
Sign says black.
You guys ain't playing.
You don't look black to me. We're like, oh boy, where's this going? But he was a nice guy. So.
What was the first band we were in then? Was it a band or like a? Maybe
it was Jack Cadillac. Or no, we actually did Laney Strickland band before that, didn't we?
Oh yeah, that was.
Was that which one was first? That was 2001.
Laney was first.
Yeah.
And I feel like we had played together before that.
Jack Cadillac was before Laney. Right? Man, I can't. It all mixes up to me.
Yeah.
No, it was after because I quit Laney and formed Jack Cadillac. And then you came after Lee had been in the band and stuff and played with us then.
I had a couple of little stints, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
When you were desperate. I was just kidding.
No.
No, but I remember something about that, the whole Laney Strickland band and you doing Jack Cadillac. And it's something I'll still say to anybody to this day that I remember when you were going to quit Laney. I think it was 2-3 months, something like that.
I was in the band about 3 months, I think.
I mean, we stayed on the road. Mm-hmm. That was a constant thing.
That was a learning experience from hell.
But I remember what you said to me when you told me you were quitting. You were like, man, I'm not going to do it. This is my last show. And I was like, what in the world? He's like, you said, it stuck with me because you said, this is the lifestyle I want to live. This is not the music I want to play. Mm-hmm. And from that day forward, you started playing original music. I mean, obviously you play covers. Everybody's going to here or there, and you've made a career out of playing your own music, and that deserves a lot of respect. That's hard to do.
Appreciate it, man.
I've always said, man, that's no one does it take balls, but
everybody told me I couldn't do it. Ain't it right, Dave?
Yeah.
You can't make it playing your own music, son. Give it up.
Yeah, you were told that by all of us. old school.
Trust me, you can't do it.
My dad, in the very beginning, it's one of the things that made me rebel, I guess you could say, and turn to heavy metal. He was always playing. You know my dad, but always playing
Jake Lee,
the Southern rock and the country covers, and he always told me when I started playing drums and he heard me playing, we were playing Metallica and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, you're never going to make any money doing that. Mm-hmm. He's like, you're wasting your time playing that music. I'm like, listen, I'm not doing it to make money. I'm doing it because I like it.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. So that drove me to do it even more. So
I guess when we was coming along, I did know your daddy. I knew him very well. As a matter of fact, we'll get into some of them stories. But back when we were coming along in the early 70s, it was a money-based kind of situation. We were serious about putting a band together, learning the material. Next step was print some business cards and start booking. That was the process. And I think what what he was doing was falling victim to that old generation gap thing, where it was his music or our music of the time was all he considered relevant.
Right.
And he wasn't giving, he was just not realizing that not only did you love the heavier stuff, but there's a whole bunch of other people around that loved it too, that you could probably make a living playing too,
Yeah.
He just didn't, he couldn't see that part of it because the old generation gap got
Well,
in the
yeah,
way.
and truth be told, he wasn't wrong. It's just that I was in it for a different reason, and honestly, I guess I've played all kind of music. I've played it all, and I love all styles of music. I guess if you're going to put me into a box, it would be I'm a heavy metal, rock and roll, whatever. And I guess because for me, it's always been about that's what drew me to it was the groove of it. Being a drummer, and that music has the groove drums to it, and that's what I love about it. And that's really where my heart's at when it comes to music. But over the years, obviously being a drummer, you don't pick what you're playing to. You're not writing the songs. You're just putting the drums to it, basically. So it's made me branch out, and I liked it. I mean, there's music. If I wouldn't have played with the people I played with, I would have never started listening to other kinds of music. Now I love some of it all, and I really do. I've got a diverse collection of that I ride and listen to. You never know what's going to come out of my speakers, honestly. And
well, it makes life so much better. More diverse it is.
You were a frontman, local vocalist too.
Yeah, that's what happens when you spill beer in the drum machine. It tries to sing.
Tries to sing. Oh man, y'all.
That was a lot of fun. I did enjoy that.
That was exhaust.
That was exhaust.
You were still the drummer, but you sang, or you got out front.
Yeah, I was the front man, and that was a lot of fun, especially when I got drunk and rambunctious.
Yeah.
I did that quite a lot.
Was it Cabaneras or Backdraft out there we played?
Backdraft, and I think they shut down after that, probably because of me.
Because of that.
You was in that band?
No, but both our bands played out there for some kind of thing.
So, being a front man, did that take some adjustment for you, or were you by that time just like, shit, I can do anything?
At first, it did because you're the one that's got to talk and represent the band, and everybody's looking at you. Maybe that's why I drank so much when I did it. But after a few beers or a few drinks, I was right in there.
Oh yeah.
So, and after a little while of playing gigs, it didn't take much to get the edge off. I had a lot of fun doing that. I just didn't have the voice for it. Let's be honest. I mean, I'm not.
You guys were awesome. That was with Rick Bennett too, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And Kenny.
Yeah.
And
Silas Robar.
Who played
Rhett Bladen played drums.
Rhett Bladen was on drums.
Yeah. We played local a few times. That was never really great. We played a lot in Jacksonville though. Mm-hmm. And we did some pretty cool things there.
You get more attention when you get out of town, don't you?
Yeah.
Everybody around here is just like, oh, it's just them guys again. They've been making noise for a long time.
Were y'all doing original stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Original and covers.
Yeah.
But we did originals, and I guess I'd say the height of the career there as a front man was we won a couple Battle of the Bands things down in Jacksonville, and we got to do a live acoustic set on the Planet Radio is what it was back then. I don't know if that even exists. Mm-hmm. But we had never played acoustic, and we walked into a radio station and played 3 songs acoustic that we never even practiced that way.
How'd it go?
It actually went good.
Yeah, cool.
I had a tape of it. I don't know what happened. Way better than I anticipated when we started. I was like, this is going to be a disaster. But it actually worked. That was a lot of fun. But then everybody grew up, and I think Rhett became a pharmacist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never saw that coming. But he lives in Huntsville, Alabama now, and doing well for himself. I think Silas is some kind of city official in Valdosta.
Wow.
Some kind of tax.
Yeah, I saw him Steel Magnolias back when we were playing there.
Yeah. And then, of course, Kenny and Rick.
Well,
yeah.
Those are lifelong friends.
Rick
is actually, I guess, the one I can say is responsible for kind of making me start playing drums with a band. Me and him became music buddies at school, and I told him I could play drums, which was kind of the truth. I was in marching band and stuff, and obviously I played drum sets sitting around the house with my dad, but I had never played any of this. I'm like, yeah, I can play that because I listened to it.
Yeah,
and I faked it and it worked. And
I'm sure I was saying I could play guitar before I could.
So you were in the marching band.
Mm-hmm.
And so you a lot like Connor, my son Connor, followed in my footsteps. I was in the marching band out at Ware County High School in my high school days. And
probably with my dad. Cause he was too.
Your daddy, there was when I was in the 8th grade, there was like a student coalition that came to all the 8th grade classes in the lower schools right before high school. And there was a high school coalition of students, one representing chorus, one representing band, one representing sports, probably, I don't know, just different aspects of high school extracurricular activities, high school life. And they came and talked to the whole 8th grade class of Memorial Drive Elementary. And it prompted us to think about what we wanted as our electives in our first year of high school, you know. And I had just got back from Tampa, Florida, where I was in a junior high school down there, very sophisticated compared to the old country, swamp country schools up here. You know, when I left in the 6th grade to Tampa, I left Memorial Drive, and the kids, my classmates, were hitting the playground in springtime with blue jeans, T-shirts, and bare feet, you know. I swear to God, they didn't even wait till Easter to pull their shoes off. And it was you know, quite a culture shock to me when we moved down to Tampa. But down there, everything became, you know, real, you know, oh, you got to dress up. HIS, London Fog, socks match the shirt, you know, loafers and shit. Well, Daddy retired, and we came back. So I spent 7th and first half of the 8th down there. Came back to Memorial Drive, second half of the 8th, and there was them same students in their blue jeans with their white T-shirts on. And as soon as springtime hit, you know, pull them shoes off. Let's get out there. And here I come waltzing in wearing cologne, and
He was a prep.
And it was like, dang, how did it change so drastically? Anyhow, the group representing high school came out and helped us to transition in. I said, all right, well, I don't want to take PE for my elective because I've been through a year and a half of that at Tampa. I'm tired of that, showering at school. And I'm not a singer, so chorus is out. So that leaves band. I signed up for band. I said, well, what am I going to play? Let me play the drum. That sounds all right. So I learned how to play the drum in the 9th grade, and then went through 3 more years and got quite good at one drum. But when your daddy was in the 8th grade, he was 2 years behind me. I was picked to be in that coalition that went to the elementary schools and talked to them about what they can expect in high school. And I represented the band program. And he told me years later that I was responsible for him going into band.
Really?
by that coalition meeting in his 8th grade.
Then you're responsible for me too. Then
So that's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah,
That's how the dominoes fall.
I can blame it all on you, Dave.
Blame it all on me. So, and Jake, your daddy was when he entered the band in the 9th grade. By that time, the elementary schools had band programs that were kind of getting them ready for the high school program. And in my case, I learned in the 9th grade and then marched in the 10th, 11th, and 12th. But Jake, when your daddy got to high school in the 9th grade, he was right there in the marching band with us, automatically because of his learning in the lower schools. And he was such a little old shrimp. I mean, he was a little short guy with thick black
glasses.
frame glasses and braces. And he just he looked very nerdy. And a couple of years later, he was taller than me and had longer hair than me, and drove a Mach 1 or Mach 2 Mustang, blue. Boy, we spent many a night in that riding the streets of Waycross.
I think he crashed that thing.
Yeah.
If it wasn't that one, it was the one right after.
Yeah. But he was good in band. I remember he played the timbales. We stuck the timbales on him right off the bat. That was just 2 drums.
Mm-hmm.
You'd wear a harness and you'd strap on 2 drums. Nothing like my son ended up doing. But
yeah, I was only good enough for 1 drum. They just put the bass drum on me.
Oh, you played the bass drum?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In marching band, anyway.
Yeah.
You started on snare though, didn't you?
Yeah, but not in marching band. Marching band, I was always just bass drum.
Were we in band together in middle school?
Possibly. You were ahead of me, so it's possible. Me and TW were in band together. That's how I met TW. He always came to school wearing bandanas and Ted Nugent shirts, and he was he was on another level back then. But I always thought it was cool because he liked what he liked. He was listening to Iron Maiden and Ted Nugent and stuff that nobody else was listening to in junior high. He was in his own world, but it made him cool, to me. I was like, check this guy out.
TWs.
Did my dad, so what was the band? Do you remember, was there a band name?
Yeah, right out of high school, because I didn't pick up the guitar until my senior year. And then graduated high school in 71, and we immediately put a band together that summer. And it was called Doghill Gang, was the name of the band. Okay. And we would rehearse in a little old empty house across the street from my house and next door to Billy Ray's house. Yeah, it was a 3-piece group, and we played, let's see, the song that we had down the best was probably I'm Your Captain, Grand Funk Railroad song. We played a couple of Grand Funk songs, and probably some Creedence.
I think you told me a story about, I don't know if it was your first gig or only gig or
at the
whatever.
VFW.
You weren't supposed to be there?
Yeah. I got that. I'm going to read that in the tale of the week at the end of this show.
Good. I want to hear that.
Yeah.
Because I've heard his version. I'd like to hear yours.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I'm sure there's probably one and the same, but a little different nuances.
That may have been the only band that we ever shared company in. Yeah, because it was that was 71, and we had 1 gig, and then life just got in the way, and we started doing different things. And the next serious band that I was in was 74, and I can't remember what your daddy was doing by then. He was probably in and out of some other bands. What year were you born?
76.
76, okay.
So we weren't in band together. I think I'm just remember seeing your picture, like school picture or something with the snare on.
Probably a picture of the kid that says, "Don't do what he did."
Don't do.
I got kicked out of band.
You did?
Yeah, for getting it was not my attendance, and I don't know if it's a rule or whatever, but I got suspended too many times from school. So, and they finally said, "Nope." It broke my heart because I really liked it, but hey, I was a troublemaker. This was like, all right, I don't want to play any more of this fancy stuff. I'll play heavy metal.
Who was your band? Was it Galtney?
David Mann.
David Mann, yes. See, by that time, things had changed drastically.
Of course, I had before marching band. I think I had Kathy Harbuck. I don't know if you remember her. And,
That's who I had in 7th grade.
and Tucker.
And Tucker.
Rick
Yep.
Tucker.
Yeah. Those are the ones I had.
Remember that fella?
And actually, what I'll say this, I think my stepbrother, I didn't really listen to heavy metal until I was like I was old or something. Until I was about 12 years old. I remember when I was 12 years old, I heard people talking about Metallica all the time, and I didn't care for it. I was actually listening, I think, to Beastie Boys, and Jody Parrott was the cause for that. But anyway, I remember back then you had to carry your drum home to practice. You had to log so many practice hours at home. And I would always come get mine before I got on the bus in the room in there. And one of the Monday or Tuesday at the beginning of the week, there was a Metallica cassette sitting up there on the shelf where all the instruments go. And every day I'd go in there and get my drink. It was still sitting there. I kept looking at it, still sitting there. It never moved. Friday rolled around. I'm like, nobody cares about that tape. I'm taking that home.
There you go.
And that started it all. I mean, honestly, I went home, I listened to that, and I'm like, I've been messing around with a drum set my whole life. I've watched my daddy play drums. You can do that on a drum set? I'm like, that's what I want to do. What
album was it?
It was And Justice for All.
Oh, yeah.
1988. And that started it all. I didn't play in a band, I guess, until 3 years later, something like that. 91, that's when I first started. And that doesn't seem so long ago, but looking back, it's been 30 years.
That's when I started too, though. Yeah. You were 2 years younger than me. And
those were the days back then. That was that's all that existed in my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, band
once I
gigs.
started that route, I was always good in grades and stuff. Until that, I was like, screw this.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna play guitar for a living.
Tell that teaching lady she ain't telling me nothing. I need to know algebra.
It didn't turn out exactly how I thought it would. But.
Speaking of school and about that whole thing, me and you ended up getting our
GED
together.
Yeah.
Oh, did y'all?
Yeah. We quituated together.
Hey, y'all
Quituated.
Y'all took that seriously. That whole musician,
I just
bad
went-
boy image and everything. You just dropped out of school.
I had failed 11th grade,
I did too.
and I was kind of like taking some 11th grade classes, but then I was in classes with people that were still. So I just like, I don't think they ever knew I was like had failed or whatever. And then I was just like, I'm not going back again.
It's just like y'all disappeared.
Well, and what happened with me was I failed 11th grade, started going back, and I was supposed to graduate in 94. If I would have went to summer school, I could have.
Right.
But then they started the new school.
Right.
They were merging Waycross and Ware County. 95 graduates
Same
were the
year,
first. Yeah. We were the last from the old school. And then I found out I would have to go to that new school, and I'm like,
Nope.
not going to happen. Nope. So I took the other route. And you know what? It's never held me back.
No. Nobody's ever said, "Look, you got a GED, get out of here."
Yeah.
How long before y'all got your GEDs?
Got them that.
I got mine immediately.
Yeah, we were in class together getting them.
Actually, we took the class before my class even graduated. They had to wait for my class to graduate before they actually mailed me my GED. They
Where
wouldn't
did y'all
do
go
it
to do
until
Yeah.
OT. Well, what was it then?
The technical school?
It was Okefenokee Tech then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it was across the street from there.
Right, but it was still
It's
part
still
of
the same part.
Oh, yeah, across the street from OTC.
I didn't take the class. I just went up there and said, I can pass the test. And they're like, well, when you fail it, you're going to have to take the class.
That's what I did too.
And I said, So you did that too?
Yeah,
right?
I'm like, if I fail it, then I'll take the class.
My
But
mom the other day, she's like, "You said you got your GED, but I didn't ever see it." I was like, "Are you telling me I didn't get my GED? Come on!" Like,
I still got mine. Actually, the job I've got right now, I had to show it.
I mean,
I
can't
think that's the
locate
first
it,
time
but
I ever had to show it. And I got it. So
they didn't.
Did y'all have to take the class?
No,
No,
Just took the test.
Nice.
we said, "Hey, man, we know the Earth goes around the sun,
yeah.
not the other way around."
That's difficult
que-
as the GED.
That's what kind of questions it was. It's
Yeah,
like,
it was.
Does the Earth go around the sun, or does the sun go around the Earth?
How long of a test was it?
It was long as
Yeah,
hell.
it was. You had lunch, you took breaks and stuff. It was they had subject sections, obviously,
Okay.
Yeah.
English and math.
Yeah.
But none of it
wasn't
was
just a
hard.
pushover.
It was like, can you make it in life? You know, kind of like,
It was kind of like the assessment test they give you in school. It was just another one of those. I mean, and yeah.
just basic knowledge.
Are you stupid? As if you are, you're not getting this thing. It propels you through life or something, I guess.
That's not why I failed. I failed.
I failed because I didn't like it.
ass.
I'd rather go out playing music.
I would be like the kid asleep, and then the teacher like, "All right, Sean, what's the answer to this question?" I'm like 34, and she's like, "That mother."
So here's my deal too in school. This is, I don't know if you remember, if you saw me any of my last days in school. I got in trouble on my 16th birthday, underage drinking. I had one beer and I went to jail.
Scoundrel.
So I was on probation. Well, I was in trouble those days. There's no lying about that. But that's the reason I had failed the 11th grade. I had missed too many days. Well, my mom, I had already failed. They had told me, you're not going to pass. Still had another month or two of school left. My mom let me withdraw so I could go to work. I was doing yards. My stepdad had a yard business. And I'm like, well, I just work. There's no need for me. And I didn't know you can't do that when you're on probation. They came and picked me up.
You can't work when you're on
No,
probation.
you can't quit school.
You can't quit school.
Even though I had a job, I was underage. I was a minor. I wasn't 18 yet.
Gotcha.
So you had to stay in school. Actually, I guess once you're 18 or whatever, I don't know, you can just have a job. But anyway, so I spent 2 weeks in RYDC because I quit school.
In what?
In RYDC, Regional Youth
RYDC,
Detention
yeah.
Center. I will never forget it. I did hard time.
Wow.
That was
What was
out
that
at
like?
out at the industrial
Mm-hmm.
section.
Out there by the airport.
Let me tell you what that was like. See, I mean, I was a troublemaker,
But
but I
wasn't
wasn't
that kind-
troublemakers like these kids. They had me in a cell smaller than this room. It only had one bed, which was just a metal bed frame, a sink, and a toilet. But there was two of us in there. There was a mattress on the floor, which is where I got, and this other kid. What did the other kid do? Do you remember Pogo store on Albany? Getting robbed and the woman getting shot? I was in the cell with that kid.
Oh my
2
God.
weeks. I was a little scared.
Shot and killed her?
Yeah.
Wow.
How old was he?
Younger than me. I think he was like 13, 14.
But he was
Young kid.
scary.
Yeah. He didn't talk a lot. He didn't say much, so I didn't either. I just kind of, all right, be quiet and read a book.
Shoot.
But, so when I got out, they made me go back to school. I had already failed. Everybody at the school, including my teachers, knew that.
Knew that.
I didn't even carry books, paper, pen, nothing. I literally went to school and went to sleep. I mean, they wouldn't even say anything. You remember Miss Fales? Miss Fales was the worst one ever. If you fell asleep in her class, she would walk over to your desk and slap a paddle down on the desk to wake you up. I woke up many times with her doing that to other kids. Not me.
Not you.
She didn't even mess with me. So yeah, I got quite the reputation for
Yeah,
that.
I walked around school with a red dot on my head for laying on my arm.
School. Speaking of that, I think I remember before Jack Cadillac, I played. I don't know what was going on, but I played maybe just practice. I don't know if I ever did a gig, but with Gravy a little bit.
With Gravy there?
I don't. Maybe you weren't calling it Gravy at the time, but I remember playing that song
What song?
and a few of the other School Chicken.
School Chicken.
That's why I said school. It was School Chicken.
Maybe it was because Will Thrift was always the drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he moved.
I think he did. I think
We
that's
were
what
trying to
happened.
probably keep something going.
Because it was me, you, Jesse, and Graham.
About that.
I know we've jammed many a times on,
Yeah.
like, let's get this band together, and maybe it happened. Or maybe
I don't think
played
we
one
ever.
gig.
We might not have ever played a gig.
Right.
but-
There's many of those kind of things.
And I played a gig with you guys too. I don't know if it was obviously well before the New Fingers album, but there was a gig one time. I don't remember who all it was. Was it Lulu's? Was it still called Lulu's?
Imagine,
Where the
probably
creek is
so.
now?
Yeah.
With me and Dave and you,
Yeah.
nobody
and,
else.
And maybe Paul.
Probably.
Yeah.
We did so much of that.
That was so fun too.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's about the time Lulu's was active was when
Coe.
the creek started up at that first location.
Cypress Creek.
and now
And there
they
was
are
a little
Woody's.
bit of competition going on, and we were the better for it because we could get gigs at both places.
It was Woody's back then.
It was Woody's, of course. The Osmonds would always, frown on. Oh, you playing down there at that other place, are you? Well,
and ironic that the creek is there now.
yeah, that same location, sure is. That place long ago started out in my day as the Lily Pad, was its first incarnation.
It wasn't the Green Frog, was it?
The Green Frog was
the other building.
the place where the BYRB is now.
Yeah,
The
right beside
accounting business is, where all the people park in their parking lot. That was the Green Frog restaurant, an old classic place in Waycross, owned by the Darden family, who ended up going and establishing Red Lobster,
Red Lobster.
and Olive Gardens. So it all started with the Green Frog and
Green Frog, Red Lobster.
Wow.
Yes, they had a theme going, and they built the lily pad right there. It was a good distance from in back of the Green Frog, But
But they own both.
It
What
was
was
part
di-
of the Green Frog establishment. Yeah,
What was different? Was it more of a
the
bar?
lily pad was an outdoor thing. It had a bar that was only the bar was covered, and then you walked out from under that gable where the bar was, and then you hit a deck, a wooden deck that stretched all the way out into the like a garden, and there weren't no grass or anything. It was rocks, and concrete tables and benches. And you had a section of the
Concrete table and bitches.
benches.
Sign me up.
There's some benches.
And a pole.
And,
On the lily
they
pad.
had a section there on the wooden porch that the band set up and played. But I was already on the road playing for a living, so I missed out. I mean, I went to the lily pad many times when we'd be on a break, come back home for a week and wouldn't be anything to do. So you went out to the lily pad, and some other bands got to play that place.
Which I know there's been the Espresso, the Fox Trap. Which one of them?
Stoplight, traffic light. Or something?
Started off as the Foxtrot. It was opened in probably 76, 7 or 8, somewhere around there,
I remember my
was
parents going when
open.
I was little.
Yeah.
by the Jacobson brothers. It used to be a men's store, or men's and women's store, clothing store in Waycross. The Jacobson family owned it, and they diversified and opened up that nightclub. Your parents went to it?
I remember going to the Fox Trap. I just remember that name.
Yeah.
You stay here.
It was big in that disco period of the mid 70s, that's
So it's the Fox Trap first,
then it became the Espresso,
Espresso.
and
Was it
My
ever the
dad
traffic
played there a
light?
lot.
it became Alibis.
Was there a traffic light?
there was a downtown store that sold Levi's named the Traffic Light. But there could have been a club named that.
Is that what I think that's what the bar on Oak Street's called.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably still that, right?
I think so.
It's been that forever.
Mm-hmm.
But prior to the Foxtrot, it was, I think it was called Eagle Laundry. It was an old dry cleaner's place. Huh. That was what it originated as. And the Jacobsons turned it into, that was Al and Baynard Jacobson that turned it into a nightclub. And it was pretty sophisticated place back in those days.
I heard it was a place to be there.
It was a place to be. We'd get out there and dance and carry on like young folks. And I remember dancing with your mama out there one night. I sure did. This years later, after your daddy and all.
Yeah.
We had some times. Your mama she's a pretty girl. Back in those days, just starting out, she worked at the Tasty Freeze.
Yeah.
And that's where your daddy and her met. She had long, straight, long brown hair, like Cher, and big brown eyes, and your daddy flipped. And we hung around. We did a lot of hanging around back in those days. All three of us did. And, of course, me and your daddy, we would always ride around in his car, my car. This would have been 72.
Cruising around the Dairy Queen?
Cruising around the Dairy Queen. Let's see, the A&W, the Dairy Queen, the Burger Chef. And after that, you going down to the bowling alley and you could get out and go in there. That's where Coley Electric is now. That was the bowling alley. So the bowling alley and then ride around the drive-ins, the burger joints. That was it. And there wasn't nothing else to do in this town. Of course, we'd drink while we was riding. And we got to know all the little gas station bathrooms, because it'd be constant. Yeah, I got to pee, and listening to 8-track tape. Queen. Me and your daddy, we got into some Queen. I discovered Queen on my own. Me and two other guys was late night partying and didn't go to bed and just took out to Jacksonville in the early hours of the morning and pulled over and slept on the shoulder of the highway on US 1, waited till sunrise, and then picked up our journey. We wound up down there on downtown Jacksonville. They used to have a music store where we bought our first equipment from. Downtown called Paulus Music, and right next to Paulus was an old record store. We drove down watching that record store, and I remember going through there and thumbing through pull this one album out. It was Queen's first album. All it had was Queen, and it looked like a kind of a pinkish purple front cover of Freddie Mercury standing there holding a microphone stand, out of focus and everything. I flipped over the back, and there was just this round robin of different photos of Queen. And I said, well, hell, they all look good. They all look like rock and roll. And I said, I've never heard of them, but I'm buying it. And carried it home, stuck it on the turntable, and man, from that first song, Keep Yourself Alive.
Keep yourself alive.
My God.
They were definitely on another level.
Brian May, that guitar player was just, oh, damn. And then Freddie Mercury's voice, and drummer and the bass player. And man, from that point on, but that was one of the that first album and the second album. Me and your daddy listened to that many a night drunk. singing along with it at the top of our lungs, and wind up at home at about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, fall asleep, drunk, wake up hungover early the next morning and go to work, laying carpet or whatever the job was that I had at the time.
I'll tell you what, I know it's been said a lot of times, but you talking about walking in and buying that album. That's one of the things I miss about music the most.
Yeah.
And I hate to say one of these cliche things the kids these days will never know.
Yeah. Going in there,
The joy. Albums. I mean,
looking-
even when it was CDs or cassette tapes.
Yeah.
but looking at every one of them going,
Yeah.
what I want
Yeah.
to listen to.
Yeah.
The physical copies of having going and buying music and that being the only way
And
you
listening
listen.
to it over and over.
And you were forced to listen to the whole album.
Yeah.
You didn't just listen to the radio hits that you can go download. No, you had to.
Smell.
Yeah.
The smell of an
crisp.
album. When you pull that cellophane off, that the ink print from the cover would hit you, and then the vinyl lacquer smell of the album itself. It was just, oh man.
And stare at the pictures while you were listening.
Stare at the pictures,
Maybe
and
read the
every
lyrics.
liner
Yeah.
note on there, and you hear that when you put the needle down.
I listen mostly to streaming stuff, and you can literally listen to anything.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't even know what I want to hear now. But if you only got 30 records,
That's what you're going to listen to.
you're like, I want to listen to this one or whatever. But it's so hard to pick now that it's just at a click of a button,
Yeah, so
it doesn't mean the
everything's-
same.
Everything is at your fingertips now, and it just ain't the same.
It's made it all jaded. I mean, it really has. It's too easy to listen to anything. Back then, it took effort.
Like, have you heard of this band? Dude, I went to Jacksonville and I heard this band.
Yeah.
Well, this guy played me this band. You got to check it out. It was like, oh, you felt like you was finding out some information.
It's like back then, you either had to somebody let you listen to it, or you bought it because it looked cool.
Yeah.
Which I remember one of the albums I was thoroughly disappointed in was I bought Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell. And it was just not what I wanted to listen to when I'm like, that was deceiving. I was expecting some Ozzy
Yeah.
Ultimate Sin type
That's an
stuff.
epic cover.
Yeah, what is this?
Motorcycle.
But yeah, you either had to discover them from a friend letting you listen, or you might have heard it on the radio, heard the one song on the radio, and then you go buy the album, or
MTV.
you saw them live. You go to a concert to see one of your bands, and they're one of the young bands,
Opening
up.
bands.
Yeah, I discovered so many bands that way, and now it's not the same. I miss that, man. So much of that magic of music's lost these days. Oh, it's just.
I guess that comes from just having an overabundance of, everything is right there at your fingertips now, and it's lost.
Yeah, it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing all at the same time.
Same thing with movies, though. I was realizing the other day, I was trying to find something to watch, and if I didn't have everything right in front of me, I would be like, I want to see this. It would have been easier to.
Gets in the way.
It's like,
Gets
well,
in
damn.
in the way of your.
Now
talk.
that I can literally watch anything, what do I want to watch?
And not only that, you don't appreciate it as much.
Right? Yeah.
Like I remember back we
So
lived
this
in
was
Maynard.
too easy.
We lived in Maynard. And we didn't even have cable, but one of the stores down the road rented videos, VHS tapes. I mean, we watched everything in that store. If you only had a couple hundred, but it's like when you had less to choose from,
And when you would rent a movie, you would watch it.
you enjoyed it more.
You would watch it 3 or 4 times before you had to take it back the next day.
It's like now it's so easy. You turn a movie on, 10 minutes goes by, you get distracted and start looking at something else. I'll screw it. I'll watch it later. And it's just
It's hard to stay off your phone when you're watching something.
Yeah.
I have to put it up.
technology has advanced us so far. We've backed up.
Yeah. It's dumbed us
really-
down.
It has watered everything down.
Yeah.
I
Everything's
don't know what's going to change that either, because things are just going to progress and keep progressing into
yeah. How do you go back?
maybe a brownout or a blackout or a solar flare, which would wipe out everything, and force us
Asteroid.
probably force us into a zombie apocalypse type situation. It would. I mean, they've written whole reports in the government. They've written reports, and on how quickly civilization would decline in after a blackout or a brownout that lasted for a week.
What's a brownout?
Brownout is not as bad as a blackout. It's just
My underwear.
it's probably and Jason's underwear. But brownout probably wouldn't affect as many things, But you'd consider the pipeline thing, What would that have been like had it gone on for 3 weeks or a month or something, where probably wouldn't be as bad, but you take a computer outage and the way that these governments around the world are able to hack now, and you take it, if they get it in their mind to hack the banking system where you can't draw money out, you can't.
Your money's not there anymore. Your
cash is not there.
Shows zero.
People are ATMing for the cash, and you can't do that. Then you're going to see a breakdown in civilization, and it's going to happen gradually over a few days. Then it starts lasting a week or more. Then you're going to start hearing gunfire in the neighborhoods and stuff like that.
I mean, I think we've just got shown just how drastically things can change.
That was like boot camp for.
I mean, everything we know can change in the blink of an eye. I just wonder at what point are the aliens that started this whole experiment going to call it a failure? At some point,
they're
pull
coming
the plug.
back.
I mean, supposedly what the government has admitted, there's UFOs, and now nobody cares.
Yeah, they admitted it during the pandemic, and everybody's like, "Okay,
do we have to wear a mask?
Do we have to wear a mask? Do they have to wear a mask? Because if they're not wearing the mask, dude, come on.
Listen, they can't globally travel here without a vaccination certification.
Are y'all serving aliens here? McDonald's.
But yeah, the good old days of music. I do miss the physical copies of albums. I don't care if it's an album, a cassette, a CD, even.
Well, talking about where it's going, like, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No,
this is going in another damn
Where
direction.
Is it going? You tell me.
That's
Elon Musk with the what's it called? The link. I just had it in my mind. Neuralink.
Oh yeah, you told me about
the first. It's like a chip in your mind. Well, the first things they're trying to do with it is like people who have been paralyzed that have it's just a bridge that's been burned in the brain that is fixing that kind of stuff for like sight and hearing, or maybe not hearing, but brain stuff. And then, but they're like, he was on podcast talking about it, and he's like, as the technology keeps progressing with this thing, everybody's going to have this instead of a cell phone. It's going to be a computer in your mind. You're just going to look it up in your mind. We're eventually not going to talk. You're going to listen to music in your mind. What the hell? He's like,
Apple iMind.
It was on Joe Rogan. And he was like, "What do you mean you're not going to be able to talk?" He's like, "You can talk, but it's just going to be like building a fire. You don't need to."
It's going to be redundant.
He's like, I can tell you faster with
telekinesis.
Yeah, like back and forth.
It's just you're going to be able to send quick emails.
You're just talking about you're sharing messages. Stuff way faster than you can actually talk it out.
All you have to do is think. I need to ask Sean the lyrics of that new song that we wrote, and you just think that, and you automatically it comes into your head.
And he says this is 10 to 20 years from now.
That's scary.
Well, I don't know, man.
That's scary.
I don't know if we're gonna make it.
But think about before cell phones, and if somebody's like 10, 20, you're going to be doing all this on your phone. But I don't know, man, that's scary. But now it's nothing. Yeah. And it's going to be like that then.
Oh, it's something.
Yeah. I wish I didn't have it, man.
I do too.
I got way more stuff done. It bogs me down.
I wish we could go back.
What, a cell phone?
Cell phones. And I stayed away from
that's
it forever.
What the problem is right now. Everybody is sitting there like this.
Yeah. Well, we're all connected without being connected.
Cell phone.
And it's caused us to become even
more,
less connected.
Less
Yeah.
connected
So,
because
I mean,
I don't go
We don't
hang
share the
out.
same camaraderie that
Yeah.
we used to.
People don't hang out like they used to. They're just
And when they do, you're all
yeah, they're just doing that.
Neighbors ain't neighbors
talking about what you
anymore.
saw on Facebook.
Yeah, look at here.
Yeah.
I'm like, I came out. Now you're shoving your phone in my face.
But again, I'm telling you, like the days of the Laney Strickland band, we're talking 20 years ago. I'm so glad my cell phone back then was just a little Nike or whatever
Yeah,
they were.
it just had the snake game,
Yeah. You could play
text call, and the snake game. That's all I
You
had.
had to press the button this many
Nokia.
times just to send a text. And S. Yeah, I mean, wow. Can we go back? I don't even like that. I don't like being able to. I, mean,
I was like the last one to get one of those because I was like, this isn't going good. I don't want to be. Anytime somebody wants to get a hold of me, they can call me. Hell with that.
right.
I'm out.
Like when you used to, though,
I'll
when
be
you,
home
when
when I
you
get
went
home.
somewhere, you were there. You were in that moment.
Yeah.
Anything else, anywhere else, wasn't even relevant.
Yeah.
You went out of town and nobody knew where you were at.
Mm-hmm.
You were on your own. You were
Yeah.
out there. And
Yeah.
now it's never that way.
Yeah, remember back in the days when you had a road map? I used to carry an atlas in the van in the late '80s. You know, it was a book that had every state's road map in it. You know, that's how we got around. And you go on a daggum trip, and it seems looking back on it, seems like would have been so hard compared to your GPS sitting in
Yeah.
front of you now, you know, with a woman talking to you, telling you where to go.
Yeah, because even that, sometimes now you miss a turn and you act like the world's ending. And back with the map, it's like
It's
you
like-
probably didn't even know that turn was there.
I think what we did, it seems to me like we just wrote the directions out on a piece of paper or
Yeah.
a paper
Like you look
bag
at the
or
map
something.
before you
Says,
left, and you wrote,
it
"I need to
said,
turn here. I need to turn there."
75, and then that was it.
I remember when it progressed, didn't have it on a smartphone or a GPS in the car. You could go on Google and
Print
Google
it
the
out.
directions. Yeah, and
Yeah,
print out
yeah.
the
Print
directions.
I did that one. The only time I did remember doing that, where I actually printed them out, I was trying to go to a concert. I don't remember which concert, but it was in Atlanta, and I ended up in a cul-de-sac in a neighborhood I didn't need to be in, with a car full of kids, and we were all like, who sent us these directions? This is a setup. Like, it's a trap, you know. And we were not. I don't know even know how we found out where we were going or who was with me, but I remember that happening.
I've drove to Savannah and back from Savannah a million times. And honestly, today I had to work at the IP mill there in Savannah. And I could have just left and drove home. I know how to drive home. But it's so ingrained in my head when I leave, hit home on the GPS and do what she tells me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got on the phone, so I wasn't listening, and I missed a turn. And I wound up somewhere I didn't need to be in Savannah. And I'm driving a big black 4-wheel drive truck, and I didn't fit in. And
That's frightening.
it is. I had to make a bunch of turns to get back out of
I
there.
had a situation like that when I was about 17. Or might have been out of high school, probably was about 18 or 19, and I was by myself in the family car in Jacksonville, and I took a wrong turn, and I was in ethnic area, and I was driving faster than I should have been because I was scared. You know, I was just like panicking, and then my foot was down on the accelerator, and I was hauling ass right through an ethnic funeral. And it was like, you know, I was like, oh, God, because they're cussing me and waving their fists and stuff at the air because I'm driving fast right
Through a
in their
funeral.
moment of sorrow, you know. And I said, please, Lord, just get me out of here. I got.
He said, "I'm
turned
busy getting
around.
this one out. I'm busy getting this one out of here."
That's not
What's
a
your
good,
turn?
It's not a good feeling, but I guess that's one aspect of it that's probably advanced and improved is the mapping and
Yeah, definitely.
getting around and everything. It is nice.
Technology it makes your life
comforting.
easier, but it makes you dumber. I feel, you know, like
Yeah.
I don't even add anything adding. I'm like, calculator.
Yep, it's right there.
Like it's
That's
8
just
plus-
like the directions today. I could drive home. I could drive straight home from where I left. I've been there so many times.
remembering phone numbers.
But I don't even
do it.
think to do that. It's just like, oh, tell me what to do.
Like I don't even know my wife's phone number right now. You know, it's like,
Yeah, that's a thing of the past.
it's crippling us.
But and back on the whole thing, what it's done with music is bands don't make money from selling albums anymore.
No.
Yeah.
It's all about the live gigs and merchandise.
That's unfortunate.
And something I've noticed, I don't know what's going to happen, but I've been paying attention to this, and I kind of saw it coming a long time ago. I'm like, when they open things back up, is it going to be too much all at the same time? And over the last couple of months or so, you're seeing all these tours that have been postponed. The end of this year, there's so many shows. Because I started, getting like, I'd like to go to see that. And I'd like to go see that. And it got me thinking, are they going to have full crowds? Or is it going to lower
I'm already
attendance?
seeing videos right now of full people shoulder to shoulder crowds.
Well, I mean, I'm not talking
certain
about are they
areas.
going to be full crowds because of the pandemic. I'm just wondering, like, when this thing gets started, like these bigger concerts, you can only go to so many.
Oh yeah.
Is it? They're going to be so many at one
Because there's so
time.
many happening at one time. There's
Yeah.
not enough people. Well, I got you.
I mean, I guess there'll still be enough people, but I don't see all of them selling out like usual.
I was feeling like this whole COVID thing is, it sucked for music because it went away, but it's like getting people back into it because everybody was taking it for granted there.
exactly.
It's just so much in your face, and now it's like new kids coming up weren't into it. They were just whatever, but now you take it away, and it's like, oh, this is coming back. You need to support it.
And I think for some musicians, it's gave them, like some of your tour musicians, you have to tour so much to make money now that it's giving them a break and kind of refresh them. Like I've heard some interviews with so many bands, they got to get together and spend time just hanging out, writing music without the pressure of you need to be on a tour or this. It kind of gave them family time again that they hadn't had in years. So it kind of pushed reset. So it's been good in that aspect.
I had some shoulder issues going on that was like this inflammation from playing and playing and playing and driving and playing and driving. And that all went away, and it's starting to come back a little bit now. But
I miss playing. I mean, you guys, I know you do it. You've done it for years. And so to take it away for a year and a half has been a big change.
Well, some places hadn't come back yet and are not going to come back. They've made the conscious decision to not have live music on this side of the pandemic. That's only a handful of them, but still,
some of them went out of business.
And some of them did go out of business. But
maybe it'll come back around as it actually gets back to
I think
normal.
it will. It's got to. Music ain't going away. Music and pornography and drinking. Those three things.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's it.
That's
They will always outlast any kind of a downturn, like the Depression. Those three things still kept going.
Well, those are the times you need those three things.
So
they're all escapes.
I got
They're all vices.
full faith in brothels,
In humanity. Full faith in humanity.
the brothel of that humanity is.
On that note, I need another drink.
Well, folks, we'll be right back with our guest, Jason Lee.
Maybe we'll start talking about music.
Yeah.
Something in my brain won't let me stray. Something in my veins gonna find its way. Something in the water taught me how to pray. When that cold black water finds its way into your veins, you'll never be the same.
mercy. I love that video.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
How old is that? That's about 2 years, ain't it? Or more?
No, it's probably 4.
It's been a while now, yeah. 4 or 5
Well, it's
maybe.
one of my favorites. And y'all watching on here probably recognize Chris and Laurie as being our guests on a few episodes ago. That's one of their originals there. And I guess who's the other one? John Peavy on guitar, Josh Kirkland on guitar, Don Hill on bass.
And then Chris and Laurie.
Chris and Laurie, and our guest, Jason Lee on the drums.
Like I say, that was a really fun time. Some of those times you get together, you know, musicians, stuff just comes together without any effort, and that was one of those days. That was a lot of fun.
So y'all weren't like in the band. Y'all just got together for this video.
Yeah.
And so
We did another video too. I think we did Dirt Kick, wasn't it? Yeah.
Really?
We did that down
I love
at the
that
depot.
also.
yeah, okay, I remember that one.
That was fun too.
But that was way earlier than.
that was after that. Actually.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a newer, later version. It's the same players that was on that.
I think we did a version of Dirt Kick when I was
Okay, I remember the old one.
I was not in the band because the bass player in that band was Justin Mitchell.
Maybe I didn't see that one.
And
What's that?
we got commercials on our podcast now, folks. They come and go at will. But I was the bartender. That was Dirt Kick when we recorded.
Yeah,
that
you were but
video. I
that was the one that
bartender
was
on
way
it.
before that one. Right?
Way before that.
That was a
long
hay
time
shaker
ago.
or
Yeah,
It was
I did the
actually-
original way back then too on that at Jesse's studio.
cool.
That was way back
Yeah,
in the
Dirt
day.
Kick too if you want to watch it.
But
You got it pulled up?
Yeah.
Let's watch it.
Yeah, I love Chris's songwriting. I love his production too. He just got he's got a real ear for
he's business. I can tell you when
the
you
production of it.
he wants things tight. He's a perfectionist.
Here we go with another one.
Yes, sir, man. That was
Oh,
good.
man.
I never saw that one.
I hadn't watched that in so long. I've kind of forgot little parts of it. So
Well,
it's pretty
folks,
cool
if
to go back and
y'all
watch it.
just tuned in, that epitomizes what this podcast is all about. That right there is something in the water.
A lot of good musicians in that
All
one.
of those people
man.
on there either have been or will be our guests on here. That might be. Wow, they're just. There's just a pool of talent down here, from songwriters to vocalists to musicians.
Yeah.
It's just that was evidence
A big-
of it
a big-
right there.
That
Part
was
of
some
the
them right
community.
there, yeah.
Yeah.
That's stretching from Valdosta back to here. And all the way, I guess, to Brunswick.
And
There's a little stretch
that was
across
our guest Jason Lee once again on drums there.
Yeah, I've done a pretty good bit of studio stuff here and there with Chris and Laurie. That's kind of the last stuff I've really done because I can't commit to a band these days with my work schedule. So I hadn't done enough of it.
What are you doing now?
I am an account manager. Basically,
You work the roads.
I go to sawmills. I service the equipment that we sell. It's a disposable knife company, basically. So in the sawmills, you've got things that chip wood, period. Whether it's, I don't know, they call them a chipping saw that makes the lumber. Whether it's a chipper like out at Georgia Biomass or a paper mill, they're just making chips for pulp or either to make pellets, whatever. If it chips wood, we make something that does it.
So you call the blades knives? Mm-hmm. You call them knives that fits into the machines?
Yeah. So it's an interesting job. Not a lot of people. There's only a few companies that make what we make. I mean, and it's kind of
Do you spend a lot of time on the road? I mean,
I do.
Do you have to stay out of town on the road, like overnight?
Oh yeah. When we're doing installs or services, I have to be there early in the morning. But my area is Georgia and Florida, and partly in the Carolinas. But I do travel all over helping other people in the company too. So, I travel.
That's kind of like the life of a musician. You were prepared for that, weren't you?
Oh yeah.
Your music years prepared you for your job now.
Yeah, Sean and I had a good adventure of that though in the Lane Strickland band. I carried it on for a few more years.
Yeah.
And that was quite an adventure. Man, that was a lot of fun doing it.
That was good. That was good times playing with him.
I did 3 on the road back in my day, 75 through 78. So
we were playing 100 shows or more a year too, and that's a lot of playing. Of course, who am I telling? Right.
Did we tell the story on here, or was it on one of our trips? I think it might have been on our trip to Macon the other day that you told a story about when you were in the Laney Strickland band that y'all were riding down
16. Yeah. Okay.
I-16. Tell that story.
You got to remember
That's
this.
funny.
It was the middle of the day. We were traveling, Laney Strickland band in the van, and we're going down 16.
Must have been going to Statesboro, probably,
I don't remember where we were going,
or coming from there. I'm sure of it.
but we passed David Allen Coe. You remember this? Mm-hmm. And he was in his bus.
Oh, I got more David Allen Coe story to go with it. So
Yeah. He was in his bus, and he was on the inside lane, and Laney's like, I think that's David Allen Coe.
He was driving it?
Yeah, and so we get up there, and his door is open, and he, like, no air condition, just shorts, and just him driving his own bus, and just looked like Hunter S. Thompson or something. And we're like, hey, beeping the horn and whatever.
What's crazy is several years later, we opened up for him a few times, but one of those was in Starkville, Mississippi. And we ended up staying at the same hotel as him. We didn't know it, but all kinds of stuff happened that night. It was like freezing cold. They paid me to jump in the pool. I think a few of us ended up doing that. It was pretty interesting. But we played the gig. As interesting as that was, because believe me, David Allen Coe is a sight to behold. Seeing him play live. But we get back to the hotel, and there's this bus. We've done all this debauchery in the pool. We walk out to the parking lot. There's this bus, and it's running. And we go up, knock on the door. I wonder if he's in there and awake. We'll knock on the door. Nobody comes to the door. Well, Eddie opens the door and there's David Allen Coe snuggled up on his little on his couch with a little Afghan over him, little colorful Afghan. Eddie sneaks up there and takes a picture of him. Hops back.
Oh no!
I'm like, do you know what would have happened if he would have woke up and saw you standing there
Probably
over
got
him
shot.
taking a picture?
Yeah,
Wow.
he probably had a revolver underneath that Afghan too.
But yeah, that was I've had some interesting times out on the road with
Good
those boys.
stories.
Did you play any of those Hank 3 shows? Were you?
No, that was right after I got out. Yeah, that would have been fun. But things happen, life happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that band was a lot of fun. Obviously, the most playing I ever did, the biggest crowds I ever did, by a big long shot. I mean, we opened up for Leonard Skinner, Hank Jr. Those were like wild adventure shows, but there's literally, tens of thousands of people out there in front of you. That's a little different feeling. It was something I'm glad I got to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I've been in nothing but kind of hometown bands, just getting the lead out ever since then. That kind of took the travel out of me, I guess. Got that, but it's bad now. I still itch to play, but
There was one year at Swamp Town that Newfanglers performed, and I think you may have ended up playing a lot of songs that night on stage was because of a lack of a drummer.
I did do a gig where I was the main drummer. There
Yeah.
was only one of them.
Was that at the
I did another
festival?
couple where I just sat in and played that one song, but
Yeah,
I did a couple of gigs.
I just can't remember exactly when and where they were, but
I'm sure
I
they
thought
were
that
at
we
Creek.
had done.
We did a version of Jack Cadillac where you played, and Jody was on bass, and Dylan Crosby was on guitar.
Yeah,
At the,
I saw pictures of
Swamp
that
Town.
just the other night. They popped up
That
in
was-
my memories.
I like practicing for that, and I thought that turned out really well. That set.
It's hard to even think back how many bands I've been in. I'm sure it is for all of you. How many bands have you been in?
I could probably count mine pretty easy. Y'all started a lot younger than I did. So
I bet we could have a contest between me and you, Jason, see which one had the worst band names.
I think I could win that one though. I could win that one with one name alone. It was the worst band name ever. But
What was it?
well, we had some thrifty stuff. Let me go back through the band names. Let's start here at the beginning. We had Black, which actually originally was called Blackout. We changed it to Black because hey, what was cooler than black, right? And we were talking, the color black, the concert shirts, and that's just anyway. So there was Black. Then there was, and I'm going to get, this is not necessarily in time order because I'm sure I'm screwing it up. But we had Exhaust, and that was the one I was singing in. We had Capital F,
Yeah.
and that was me and Rick and Frank Sykes. That was the one band I played in with him, I guess. Then there was Igmo.
Igmo.
Yes. Yeah.
Igmo.
Named after Silas's dog. Because he was always there when we practiced. So
Igmo.
right.
Pretty good
Anyway,
name
that
right
was a heavy band.
Yeah, it's not a bad name.
But Distant, that was one of my first bands. Distant was the name of the band.
with Jesse
And we got
Herring.
really creative and made the first album Up Close.
TW and TW Lott and Jesse Herring.
Yeah.
That's when I met all y'all. Y'all were in
And we
that band.
recorded, that was my first studio experience.
Already knew you.
We recorded the whole album. I don't know if you remember that. And we got 1,000 copies pressed. We probably still got 980
I
of
do
them.
remember that name.
That's when I met Jesse. It wasn't. I already knew
remember
you
that
and TW.
We ended up changing that band name to 12 Gauge Enema. And that's where I win the contest.
Yeah, 12 gauge in them.
Yeah, that was a pretty rough one.
Fat Baby Angels is probably my worst one. Or
You've also got the worst one. We actually kind of went tie
what?
because we both played in Dixie Wreck.
Yeah,
And that tops the cake for bad band names.
Dix Erect.
God, I never heard it that way before, but now that you brought it to my attention, I'll never be able to unhear it.
And the Laney Strickland Band.
Yeah.
And we changed that to Dixie Union
Oh yeah.
Okay,
at
Yeah.
one point.
that's right. Yeah.
I just saw Eddie the other day.
How's
He's
he
making
doing?
cornhole.
Yes, he is. And if you can
He's
find
what?
any,
He's making cornhole things.
yeah, he does. He makes really nice cornhole boards. But let me tell you something. Have you ever played?
Yeah, I play.
I don't know anybody
I'm
that
pretty
could beat
good at
Eddie.
it.
I don't know
beat
anybody that could beat Eddie. I don't think
he's-
I've ever.
he's good.
If you should watch him, I mean,
He's probably like a billiard shark. He's probably got the angles and everything down.
oh yeah. He's done it so much that muscle memory's locked in.
Yeah.
But so yeah, he's doing good. He's building those like regular.
Well,
He
good.
built me a real nice
Good.
set, but he's really good at it.
We need to get him on here.
He would be a good one.
Yeah.
He's got some stories to tell. He's played around.
Were you playing when they, or was that Mac when the pyro went off, and blew Eddie's watch off, and
I remember that.
Yeah, that was pretty horrifying.
I'm blind.
That was me. Not only did that happen with the pyro, but not long after. I mean, we're talking. When I say not long, we're talking like a month after the whole Great White pyro incident.
yeah,
Where people died in the club from it catching on fire. We were playing in Mississippi. I don't remember the name of the place. It was like not maybe it was Studio 54, something like that. It was a playoff of that anyway, whatever the name was. But they had a little drum riser built back into the back wall of the stage, so it was kind of like a little cave there. And the roof was lined with black spray painted eggshell crate foam.
Cool.
And the pyro pods were right on the front of the drum riser. Yeah, so they set the pyro off, and I'm back there. I didn't notice it for a minute, but all of a sudden, fire starts dripping onto my cymbal.
Oh, no.
Zoop, zoop, it's just dropped. And I'm like, what the heck? I looked up, and I'm like, holy shit, the roof is on. I mean, and it's growing fast.
the roof.
And I'm back there. I should have just immediately stopped playing, but I'm trying to get somebody's attention while I'm playing the song. I mean, I'm not in my right mind to just say stop. And finally, that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
I just had to stop playing because nobody was paying me any attention. And by the time I did, man, the whole place was like full of smoke. People were hauling ass out the doors. And this is like a month after that.
Oh no, man.
That ended the pyro for a while.
Yeah.
Needless to say.
Was y'all's pyro? I mean,
That was some homemade backwoods
But
pyro.
did you take it with you?
Yes.
So you had your own pyro guy,
Yeah. The
or
bass
did you
player.
rely on? Okay, so he traveled.
He had
with
a
it.
welded thing that was just
Well, we all had it made, and we actually went to the place. It's a fireworks manufacturer place, but they do pyro stuff for the bigger shows.
Yeah.
They manufacture all this stuff, and it's just a mixture of like concussion powder that makes the bang,
Yeah.
glitter powder that makes the sparkle in the fire. I mean and you mix that stuff. So we mixed it. The fuses were those little model rocket fuses. They went inside the pipe, and yeah, it was pretty dangerous.
And it was designed not to go high, but just to.
it shot high.
Yeah.
It did. So
Big bang and fired straight
Not
up.
super high, but
Yeah.
high enough to hit the roof in that little drum riser. So
Yeah. It was so damn loud though
it was.
that when it would go off on whatever part of the song, and you're still playing, but you can't hear for about 10 seconds or 5 seconds
And you knew
before
it was,
the sound of the instruments come back.
and
My
you knew
left-
when it was coming too, didn't you?
Oh yeah. My left ear is permanently damaged from that band because Eddie and Laney always had battles back and forth on stage volume. One of them got too loud; they're constantly just slipping over there and turning up just a little bit, and the other one turning up. And I had Laney's amp about like that one most of the time, sitting right to my left.
Yeah.
And my left ear is trash.
It's funny. We did a hearing test. We went to an audiologist one time back during our band days, and the results of the test broke down. You could tell where our monitors were placed and how loud they were because everybody's test results said, "Yeah, you're low on this side. You're low on this side." And that was right where our monitors were,
Dang.
So it was always that way.
Yep, everything just gets louder and louder. But the ringing, man, the ringing in my left ear.
Tinnitus.
Oh, it's terrible. But I have learned to ignore it at night. I go right to sleep. It used to bother me. Not anymore. I don't know how. Just suddenly blocked it out.
Rick's got bad ringing.
Yeah, he's got really bad
Rick
ringing.
Bennett.
You pay the price. I wish I'd have known. It was nerdy to wear earplugs. I couldn't stand to do it. I couldn't stand to listen to it through earplugs.
Well, they got those ones now that it doesn't really
Just filter.
It doesn't muffle it. It's like just drops the volume. Connor's got some.
I should have had them back then.
Well, folks, I reckon it's time we hit the old tale of the week.
I'm looking forward to this one.
Written by yours truly, Uncle Dave. This one concerns your daddy in places. Let me grab those glasses down there on the floor that I knocked down there. Thank you. Thanks. This one is entitled VFW, Penthouse Magazine, and How I Found and Lost Graham Parsons. I caught the music bug in 71 during my senior year of high school. That was 1971. No matter what I listened to, that bass guitar just kept jumping out at me. Billy Ray Harron, my old neighbor on Mount Pleasant Road, or Doghill as we used to call it, had been playing guitar for several years already and invited me by one afternoon after school. Leaning up in the corner of his bedroom stood a 6-string Silvertone electric guitar with only 4 strings on it. He grabbed it and showed me the bass line for Jimi Hendrix's Hey Joe, and I never looked back. After we both graduated that June, we left Doghill and headed off to separate colleges. I chose Georgia Southern in Statesboro. Billy Ray enrolled at South Georgia Junior College in Douglas. Despite the distance, we managed to pull our first band together on weekends in Waycross, rehearsing in a small empty wood frame house on Dog Hill. Billy Ray played guitar and handled the vocals. Jake Lee was our drummer, and I played bass. We were offered a job in late September of 71 at the local VFW in Waycross. We had no PA system, but we overcame that by taping a microphone to a broom handle and cramming the wood stick into a knot hole on the stage floor. On the afternoon of the gig, we practiced our asses off, playing everything in our slim repertoire: Creedence Clearwater Revival, Grand Funk Railroad, and Chris Christopherson. The VFW would give us what we took in at the door, so we hired Gary Keels as our doorman and proceeded to play to an empty room. Late in the evening, the veterans in the bar next door took pity on us and pooled some money together. We walked out with about $8.33 apiece. Back in our day, before the World Wide Web, Google, and Wikipedia, we gleaned as much music news as we could by poring over album covers from front to back, reading Rolling Stone magazine, and the occasional word of mouth from friends and strangers. One weekend in 71, Billy Ray relayed a tidbit of info he had picked up from a dorm mate at college. The guy told him that he had heard one of the birds was from Waycross, Georgia. Well, at a time in the late 60s when psychedelic music ruled the airwaves, Graham Parsons guided the Byrds into a country music direction. Their landmark album, Sweetheart of the Rodeo, was roundly celebrated by music critics, but largely ignored by the record-buying public. We didn't yet know about Graham Parsons, who had left Waycross at the age of 12 while we were mere 6-year-olds. He moved to Winter Haven, Florida, got into music, and wound up in California with the Byrds. The Byrds we knew, or thought we knew, were the Dylan-esque folk rockers led by Roger McGuinn, so we dismissed that information as quickly as we heard it. By 1973, I had dropped out of Georgia Southern and found my place in the workforce delivering building materials for Choo Choo Supply. Billy Ray had followed suit and was working as a tour boat guide at the Okefenokee Swamp Park, located 8 miles south of Waycross. So in July of 73, I had made a run to St. Simon's Island with a pickup full of plywood. At lunchtime, I grabbed a ham sandwich and the latest issue of Penthouse and sat in the cab of my truck on Mallory Street down by the pier. I took a quick peek at the centerfold before turning to the new music section in front of the magazine, where I began to read a review of an album called simply GP. There was a black and white photo of the artist, Graham Parsons, smiling and handsome. As I continued, the reviewer stated, much of the music on GP is reminiscent of the country music played on radio stations in Waycross, Georgia, where Graham grew up as a child. That was all it took. I ground that pickup into high gear and hauled ass back to Waycross, Billy Ray's trailer with the news. From that day forward, our lives were transformed. Sleepy little old Waycross was home to a bona fide musician, not just any musician. This guy's artistic vision had created a new musical direction that, unknowingly, we had already subscribed to, as groups like Poco and the Eagles were already on our turntables at home. We both started buying up Parsons' catalog from international submarine bands Safe at Home, through the Byrds and Flying Burrito Brothers, all the way up to GP, his first solo album. On September 19th, 1973, Graham Parsons passed away in room 8 of the Joshua Tree Inn, succumbing to a lethal mixture of alcohol and morphine. He was only 26 years old. In a mere period of 2 months, we had found our musical visionary, then lost him. Billy Ray immediately took upon himself the task of figuring out who Graham Parsons, the Waycross boy, was. He interviewed everyone who knew him, from childhood friends to workers at Snively Grove's box factory, the business Graham's daddy managed. Having all this knowledge, Billy Ray has been interviewed for several biographies on Parsons' life and the BBC documentary Graham Parsons' Fallen Angel. In 1999, he wrote a letter to the governor of Georgia, Zell Miller, which led to Parsons' induction into the Georgia Music Hall of Fame. Personally, with a lot of luck and some cosmic influence, I founded the annual Graham Parsons Guitar Pulling Tribute Festival in my backyard in 1998. Years later, 24 years as a matter of fact, it still stands as one of the best little outdoor music festivals you've never been to. But you still have time, because it's going to be going on this year, the 24th annual Graham Parsons Guitar Pulling Tribute Festival, October 21st, 22nd, and 23rd at the Okefenokee Fairgrounds. And there you'll see Billy Ray Heron and myself take the stage and pay musical tribute to Graham's legacy, a legacy we stumbled upon in the pages of a Penthouse magazine.
That's good stuff.
So there it goes, another reference to sex and rock and roll. Yep.
You said you had your side of a story with your dad and Dave, or your dad's side of the story.
Yeah.
Well, there was a little more to that I didn't include in the book.
Right. Yeah.
Because I spent the Friday night, that weekend, I told my folks I was staying in Statesboro. But yet I rode home with my buddies and did not go home. I just went to Billy Ray's trailer on Friday night, and we drove to Ware County's out-of-town football game in Bainbridge or somewhere.
Where were y'all playing at? I don't remember that part of the story.
VFW.
Was it?
On Saturday night. But first night, Friday night, I spent the night with Ray, and we rode to the out-of-town Ware County football game and was drinking beer on the way, and happened to run into some church friends of my folks at the football game. And they, you know how church friends are, they stay in the loop, you know. They looked at me and they said, "Your parents said you were staying at Georgia Southern this weekend? And I said, I am. In fact, I just came to the football game on Friday night, and I'm going back to Statesboro tonight. So there was lie number one, or lie number two. First time was when I lied to my folks, told them I was staying. So ride back, spend the night at Billy Ray's trailer Friday night. We get up Saturday and meet up at the VFW and set the equipment up and rehearse for the big gig that night. And as said in the story there, the gig was nothing. Wasn't nothing big about it. But it was an important first step for us. And then went home with your daddy and spent Saturday night with your daddy at his house.
Is this the one? What he tells me about is somebody walking in to the
Gateway
gig.
Restaurant.
Yeah, or
No,
seeing you in town.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that happened on Sunday. Because spent the night with your daddy, Jake Lee, on Saturday night at his home. And Sunday morning, Jake's mama, Evelyn? Eleanor, got up and went to church. And me and Jake's daddy rolled on down to the Gateway Restaurant, which was right there on Albany Avenue, right up the road from their house. Mm-hmm. And we get there before church lets out, and we're sitting over on the side wall up under the air conditioner there, and I'm sitting there with my back to the front door, and your daddy is sitting to my right with his eye aimed at the front door. And right there also to my right was the counter with these swivel stools on it, like the old diners have. And anyhow, your daddy's sitting there and he says, David, those people that were at the football game the other night, the friends of your parents, just walked in. And I went, like, slumped down a little bit in my chair. And he said, David, your little sister just walked in.
Dang.
And I struck down a little lower. He said, David, your parents just walked in and they took a table. Let's see if I'm sitting right here, hunched down. They took a table right over there. And right back here was the counter stools. And my little sister jumps up on the stool right behind me, right over my shoulder there, and starts spinning around and around on the stool.
Oh, my gosh.
Finally, she goes, pulls that stool to a halt, and I can feel her looking around the corner at me. And she yells out, Dave! What's Dave doing here? And I just turned over, looked at my parents, and and Mama was tickled to death to see me, as mamas are. Daddy was not happy.
He was on to you.
He's automatically.
He knew you were up to no good.
Yeah, automatically. That was the day I rode back home with them and waited on my ride to go back to college. But while we were at home, me and Daddy were out at the clothesline taking in the clothes. There's something you don't hear, folks. We were out at the clothesline taking the clothes in, and Daddy was admonishing me for, number one, for lying, which I shouldn't have done. But he had gotten the whole story out of me. Why I lied was because I wanted to play the gig at the VFW, and I figured that they wouldn't let me if I'd have told them, So Daddy was telling me, he says, a famous quote was, my son will not play in juke joints. And that turned out not to be true.
And the VFW is a classic example of a
juke joint. Yes. But flash forward a few years later, probably 5 years later, and Daddy and Mama and all the family was in the audience at the King of the Road in Valdosta, which was not a juke joint. It was like a supper club. And I remember laying in bed one Sunday night at home after they got home from church and hearing him, some of the friends of theirs came home from church with him, and he'd bring his buddy in there and point out all the guitars that I had stacked up on the couch and tell him about all of my conquests and everything. So he had changed his opinion.
Proud of you then.
He was.
Yeah. You got to get out and show them you're actually serious.
Is that the story pretty much?
Pretty much, yeah.
That Jake told you.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have known all the details of the little sister and all that. You see, you were there. Obviously, you have a
Lord,
a lot more knowledge of the situation than I do.
Hard. It was hitting close to home too. It's like, God Almighty! Don't ever lie to your parents.
Right.
It'll come back on you.
Yeah. That's pretty much what he told me.
Don't go to where everybody's going to eat on Sunday. For one.
That's funny though. I've ate there. That's some of the good memories I have of my papa was eating in that same restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a lot of years later.
Eating with my papa in there too. A lot. He'd always take me there.
Yeah.
It was great. It was some of the best. Well, it's like Nana's.
Some of the best grits and eggs.
Yeah.
Remember that big old
Down home.
He always called it the greasy spoon.
big, was it a marlin on the wall or something?
Mm-hmm.
I remember looking at that as a kid, like, that's cool.
That's been a long time ago. Old Waycross, it's seen its changes.
It has. It certainly has, like everything.
I tell you what, though, a lot of people move off from Waycross and they don't like it anymore. It's the most terrible. You know what? Anywhere you go, it's what you make it. Yeah. I love old Waycross. It's home. I don't have a desire to go anywhere.
It took moving off for me to realize this is actually kind of cool.
Well, there's some awesome places in this world. Mm-hmm. Way cooler than Waycross. Beautiful scenery, a lot more to do. Mm-hmm. But I'm fine with visiting those places. That's where
I like to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Waycross is home.
And folks, Waycross is where there's something in the water. And that's what this podcast is all about. We appreciate Jason Lee, our guest.
I appreciate y'all having me. Really
this
do.
time. And if anything, you've learned that drummers are real people. And they are smart.
And we might not be real musicians, but we do hang out with a lot of them. So
need more drummers. Right?
We appreciate y'all watching. Do all the things. Send us emails at our. And all the information is listed below the video down there, where you can like, subscribe,
rate and review,
notify us.
Leave dirty comments.
Leave dirty comments. If you don't like what's going on, well, just don't watch it.
Yeah, there's that. That's an option.
If you do like what's going on, we'd love to hear from you in an email or what have you. Tell them about our Patreon, Sean.
We got a Patreon you can subscribe to, and we'll have a bonus episode every month on there. It's kind of behind the scenes things, and we're calling it the deep end. So if you're not getting enough on the regular Something in the Water podcast, you can subscribe to that and see a whole mess of other options.
Slip off in the deep end.
It's only
dive off in the deep
$5
end.
a month.
$5 bucks a month,
and you.
For now.
Yeah, you better get in now while the getting's good.
We got some good things coming your way there too. So
we appreciate it, folks. Come back, see us next time.
When the cold black water finds its way might see your face.